What's going on, Twitch? Good evening. Happy Wednesday to you, beautiful people. Uh, it's a pleasure to be with you this evening, or morning, or afternoon, on wherever, whenever it might be for you, and wherever you might be. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and it's going to be a really cool stream session tonight. I First of all, my name is Philip, and I'm a certified flight instructor down here in Los Angeles. And Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are days that I enjoy very much bringing aviation education to Twitch and helping Microsoft Flight Sim enthusiasts and basically flight sim enthusiasts, whether you're X-plane, partial to X-plane or Microsoft or Prepare 3D, whatever your preference might be. My absolute pleasure is doing what I can to bring my flight instruction experience and my multifaceted experience in different aircraft to Twitch, and to provide a service on here that hopefully helps all of us in one way or another do what we love to do, which is flight sim. And even though my instruction is for students in the real world and is based, on teaching real world student pilots how to fly. Um, and even though my what I say here does not substitute for real life instruction in real life, I do. The hope is that I can bring some sort of some degree of my experience to flight simmers and help them enjoy that experience more and become a little more intimately in tune with what it is that we're doing. So really excited. Tuesdays are traditionally IFR Tuesdays. I like to discuss IFR topics and break down IFR problems, do IFR sim, IFR topics, everything from regulations to departure procedures to approach procedures and that kind of thing. Wednesdays are private pilot. Wednesdays and Thursdays are geared to the private pilot, and our Wednesdays are private pilot ground school and sim. So just your traditional GA, private pilot, ground school topics, airspace, aerodynamics, performance, and that type of stuff, and then hopping in the airplane and going and doing and applying what we actually talk about. And Thursdays are flying skills Thursdays, and I'm still trying to figure out actually what Thursdays, going into next month. I kind of want to experiment a little bit more with what's going on Thursdays. I'm thinking more along the lines of like community flights and themed Thursdays. Maybe a flight around the country, or I had some really good idea. Maybe island hopping, or wonders of the world, or I'm not really sure, but I'm really thinking rolling that kind of idea around. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And Fridays I reserve for fun Fridays, where it's like and it's all fun, but Fridays are more like infrequent. I'm more infrequently able to do those, but everything from like fighter pilot Fridays and like flying DCS fighter pilot, or fighter jets, to discussing airman certification standards and check ride prep topics and that kind of thing. So anyway, with that, let's get to it. We have like a short, like a brief ground component tonight before jumping into the airplane. I'm really excited to get into the airplane really soon. We've got below minimums. What is going on? Hey there. Good evening. How's it going? Hope your week is treating you well, and that you got through Hump Day with success, and that the back end of your week is bringing success. I got tomorrow off, so I'm having a beer, baby. Oh yeah, correct that with an exclamation mark. Fantastic, man. What's your poison, dude? What's your preference there? So tonight, the ground component, we're talking about performance charts. We're just looking we're looking at the 172 Cosmic Turtle. Oh my god, I don't even know what that is. Hazy IPA. Oh, very awesome, very awesome. Cosmic Turtle. I gotta try that, man. That sounds like something super super awesome. Um, uh, Good evening, Spherics. What is going on? Never heard of it before. It had a cool label, so I bought it. That would be me. That would definitely. And matter of fact, it's funny that the cool labels get us every time, man. Oh, is it really? I kind of like those like harder, you know, little deeper like IPAs. You know, the hazies are I'm usually a fan of. I've tried a couple different hazies. Still don't really know what that means, dude. But I mean, every hazy I've had has been pretty damn good. Um, uh, um, the cool label that got me, and I've been sold on it ever since, is Voodoo Ranger, and I just hadn't tried it before. Come to find out, it's fairly popular. But oh my god, that's another really good one. Hazies are unfiltered and more on the juicy side. I usually lower alcohol volume than normal IPA. Voodoo Ranger is real good. Yeah, man. Yeah. The Voodoo Ranger is super, super good. I didn't realize that. They're unfiltered and interesting. So, yeah, guys. So, tonight we're discussing performance charts. We're looking at. Oh, that's what makes them hazy. Oh, okay, cool, man. That's awesome. I didn't know that. Do you brew? Do you do like, you dabble? Or you just. That's just like some regular common knowledge that you're just dropping knowledge on me right now? I know people that they try and like make their own. I do not self-proclaimed beer snob. Nothing wrong with that, dude. Nothing wrong with that. So tonight we're looking at performance charts. We're looking at section 5 of the Cessna 172 Sierra Papa model. And oh yeah, Spheric, you like that Voodoo Ranger too? Yeah, I've been wanting to get on their channel and maybe get a free case or something like that, dude. It's super super good. After we go through the performance charts for this aircraft and kind of get an understanding of what type of maybe of the trends that we see in here as temperature increases, and how to actually what is this, maybe like how do we actually utilize the charts, like what do we not want to what do we want to be cognizant of when we're looking at charts. What are we actually looking at? Some of the lesser used charts, I think, from what I've seen, for example, the wind correct or the crosswind component chart. So yeah, so we'll go through that. After we go through these charts, I'd like to hop in the sim and do some crosswind landing techniques. We'll be looking at different types of crosswinds and strength, and looking at how the crosswind angle for a given speed, really adversely affects our ability to maintain directional control, and to the point where, utilizing the chart, the crosswind component chart, we'll use that. We'll use that and see, okay, what does the plane look like? What does it feel like when you've got a crosswind component that exceeds the maximum demonstrated crosswind capabilities, like of this aircraft, that are discussed in the chart. So really excited for that. And I just hope that my control yoke holds up, man, because I think it's starting to shit on me, man. I think it's starting to I think it's on its last legs for some reason, which really surprised the hell out of me, man, because it's not that old. So yeah, you know, let me just try and see if I can pull it up, pull the POH up on my tablet here. I don't think I have it. I could just download it really quick. Yeah, let me see if I can, because that would be cool to be able to mark it. Let me see. 172 POH PDF. Uh-oh, please don't tell me it's a honeycomb. No. It's nothing. It's kind of a cheap one. It's a CH Products one, but I really like it. It's a great yoke. It's a tried and true. And I really like it because it's got the throttle quadrant right there on the yoke, and I'm a huge fan of that. Being a one-armed guy, you know, that's really helpful. So I'm gonna try, and when I find my new one, I'm gonna try and find one that's just like that, but maybe it's time to kind of invest in something a little bit better. Okay, so we got the 172 Sierra model. Let's see here. 126, 124. All right. Is there a way I can download this? Dang. I don't really see a way to download this, though. Sorry guys, just one second. I'm over here on my tablet. I'm just trying to find a way to download this PDF. I'm on an iPad, and sometimes it like is kind of a pain to just download something. Let's see here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Since I have it already on here, I'm just going to email it to myself, and then I'll just open it up in the email. That's the better plan. That's a way better plan. So I'm going to axe that, because I do want to be able to, like, talk through stuff. 172 POH. It's actually the 172 Sierra POH. Attach that biche. All right. Where is it? $172. Okay, not the 182. Where is it, you guys? Aha! Aha! Found it! I love it when I find it. Alright. Wait for that to attach. Boom! Send. Alright. Cool, man. Go ahead and open this bad boy. And that Gmail. Ooh, yeah. Am I able to mark it up? I hope so. How do I do this? Let me just make sure that I can... I'm thinking maybe that guy? Or maybe that? And like... Oh, hell yeah, dude. Oh, dude. Awesome. Adobe, man. I'm thinking... Pencil settings, and then... Oh. No. We don't need that. Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, sick. Okay, cool, you guys. All right, awesome. So I think what I'm going to do is just pull it up right away. I'm not even going to do it on my computer. I'm just going to do it right on my... right on my tablet. All right. What am I doing here? Cool. Chart it up. And then the little thing here. Excellent. There we go. All right, guys. So when we're looking at the, so this is the POH for the 172 Sierra model, and you can see that that's the case for up in the top left corner. And when we're looking at the, I don't know how many of you, even though you guys are, you know, enthusiastic or, you know, aviation like enthusiasts, like my sim enthusiasts, don't know how many of you are actually have looked into at a POH for the aircraft or an aircraft flying manual for the aircraft that you fly. But it's one of the things, like in general, I would definitely recommend doing, like if you're gonna sim. There's a lot of really great information. There's a lot of really great information. Kino in the house in these manuals, and this is what's called a POH, a Pilot Operating Handbook. It's a manual for the airplane, and it's everything that you need to know about this airplane in order to fly it safely. I mean, you know, as far as like the pilot, you know, goes. So if you are getting your pilot certificate, you know, getting familiar with the POH for the aircraft that you're flying is an absolute must. It is a requirement, and your instructor would be, as you progress through your training, like your instructor would be giving you reading assignment, like reading homework through like a variety of different textbooks, like on a variety of subjects, including getting to know the actual airplane. So they're going to be assigning subjects out of like some textbook, maybe it's Jeppesen or Gleim or the Pilot Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge or the Airplane Flying Handbook, on subjects like aerodynamics or regulations or airspace. They'll be assigning readings out of the Federal Aviation Regulations or the Aeronautical Information Manual, the FAR AIM. Just getting familiar with the actual language of the rules, you know, and what the regulations actually are. But then things out of the POH that your instructor would assign here would be like, for example, right out of the gate would be systems, and getting to know the systems of the aircraft. So they're going to say, why don't you go read section 7 before our next ground session, so that we can have a discussion about the engine, or we can have a discussion about the flight controls. We can have a discussion about the instruments and how the instruments actually function. We can have a discussion about the fuel system. So we can have a discussion about the electrical system. So that would be like one of the first readings. Next reading assignment would probably be on normal procedures, and just what are the certain like normal situation, everything's going according to plan checklists that you want to familiarize yourself with this airplane, right? You might be using a checkmate checklist or some abbreviated checklist that your school provides you for the aircraft, but you want to just go through these normal procedures and get to know the normal procedures and the actual manufacturer's prescribed checklist for the aircraft. And at a minimum, getting that juxtaposition, or that comparison of like what you're being told is the right thing to do at your flight school with some checklist that they might have made based on the POH, and what the POH actually says. And any discrepancies that you might find, you would say, hey, like, I noticed that you guys say to start it in this sequence, but the POH says to do it this way. Is there a reason for that? They're going to say, well, yeah, the school does it this way or this way because this way actually preserves the life of some of the components a little bit better. It like reduces our costs. And you go, okay, well, you would need to talk to your instructor about that and say like, okay, is this really, we should be doing what the POH says to do, right? But you guys are telling me to do it this way. Like, is it crucial that we're doing, like, why, do you try and put those pieces together? Your instructor needs to do that, so that would fall into the normal procedures. Performance is definitely in there. Limitations, general. So anyway, point is there are going to be various reading assignments, and tonight we're going to be looking at section 5, the performance section of the POH. In section 5, let's go to section 5. In section 5, we've got all of the performance information. Actually, let's see here. Below minimum said performance calculation 172. Oh, Cessna, I'm assuming. You're saying Cessna performance calculations better than Piper performance calculations. So, I actually don't mind the Piper calculations, or like what below minimums is talking about is Piper tends to have performance charts that they're just that. They're actually charts. They tend to be graphs that you need to trace certain like lines over to determine what sort of performance you can expect out of this airplane, whether that be for time, distance, and fuel to climb performance, or takeoff and landing distance performance, or whatever it might be. Whereas what we'll see in the Cessna, in the 172 charts, or in generally in Cessna charts, you have they are not graphs. They are it's tabulated data. It's actually data tables, and that is a different philosophy. It's a different style of presenting the same type of information, where they kind of it's numbers that are given to you, and you just need to know how to read the numbers. So, got my private pilot's license and a Warrior and instrument in the 172. I hated the Warrior charts. Yeah, I hear you. I got my I kind of did the opposite. I did my private in a 172, and my instrument I got it in Archer. I do have I have a good amount of Warrior time as well. And I don't know, hate is a strong word, but I definitely hear you. It is work to figure that out, and it can be kind of brutal, So I definitely hear you. We should actually look at a Piper chart just for comparison. That'd be actually really interesting. I just broke out on 172 because I know that that's what I'm gonna go fly tonight in the sim. So what type of performance charts are we talking about? First of all, we've got when we talk about performance, it's been a little while since I've actually had a performance. Um, Hold on, sorry. It's been a little while since I've had a performance lecture, since I've had a performance ground. But generally speaking, what we're talking about with performance is how does when we say like what are the different ways that an aircraft can perform, and therefore like what types of data are we like looking for? We're looking for data on what types of performance. We're talking about the distance that will be required for your aircraft to leave the ground on takeoff, let's say, or the distance on that takeoff to clear a 50-foot obstacle. We're talking about what's its climb performance capabilities. At what's the climb rate that we can expect out of this aircraft based on the temperature outside, the weight, and so forth. Um, where what kind of cruise performance can we expect out of this airplane? In other words, based on the altitude and the temperature outside, what will our true airspeed be? What type of fuel burn can we expect? What type of horsepower capabilities can we expect from the limitations of being up there in the thinner air, and that type of thing. And then finally, the distance to bring the airplane when we're landing, the distance to required to bring that airplane to a stop on the runway. Do we have enough runway for that? And so that's kind of the examples of the different performance charts that we're talking about. Some other things that we'll look at are sure, why not? We'll look at some stall speed information. We'll look at this crosswind. Ooh, that's kind of annoying. Can we get that off? Oh, there we go. We'll look at crosswind performance. All right. And things like range and endurance. Range being based on full tanks. How long? How many miles can we get out of the fuel that we bring? And then how long do we? Endurance refers to how much time en route do we actually have. Oh, that's pretty cool. Awesome. Little pen right there. Well, we got a highlighter right here. Ooh, nice. Kind of new to this. It's pretty awesome. I need to know if there's a way to increase the weight of that though. Ruler? Whoa, that's pretty cool. I wonder what this one is. What? Oh, whoa, trippy. I'm just over here having way too much fun, dude. Alright, nice. Oh, dude, nice. We can have like the weight a little bit more like that. Okay, sweet. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, yeah, so we'll be looking at a few different examples of those performance charts here. So, ooh. Wait, shit. Why is it not going back? Oh, you know what? I have to... There we go. All right, sweet. Okay, so the use of performance charts. So you may expect the airplane under various conditions, facilitating planning of flights in detail with reasonable accuracy. Yeah, the idea too that you're going to hear an instructor, let you know, or they should at least, is that this information is best case scenario, what we're going to see. And we don't want to we don't want to take these numbers on face value. We want to understand that these numbers were in a perfectly new airplane, perfectly good, flown by a perfectly, uh, um, they were perfect. These scenarios were perfectly performed by test pilots, or in a isolated situations or conditions in labs, or under whatever. This is like not real world, and these numbers should be taken with a grain of salt, and rounded up or down accordingly, whatever's more conservative, with the assumption in mind that you are not a perfect like test pilot, that these conditions are not exactly what needs to be. The plane is not clean, exactly fresh, and like these are tired, exactly worn like engines. The wings are beat up, and everything. So like we don't want. In other words, why is that important to you? Like, why even say it? Because what we don't want to do is read this information and make a go decision based on the numbers being just good enough but really really tight, and we get that wishful thinking, or that confirmation bias, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I could go, let me check the POH, right? And so you check the performance numbers, and it's like barely enough. Like maybe your climb performance is barely enough to meet the restrictions on that departure procedure, or maybe your takeoff performance and your takeoff roll distance to leave the ground is barely enough to leave the ground with enough runway. And you're like, well, that number is less than the run. It's like, dude, you need to have, as you go through these numbers, we need to read it with an educated mind and with like a conservative mind, to add personal minimums or some buffer to these numbers in order to really make that go or no go decision. And even if the numbers are appear on the favorable side in terms of the minimum requirements, if they are still not within your personal minimums and within your safety margin, it's like it's still a no-go decision, right? That's just the better judgment. So it's just the better way to go. My school always had us add 50% to our land and takeoff margins. Yeah, exactly. Add 50%. Have you seen the video Flight Chops posted years ago of a Bonanza where the performance calculation said it could make it and barely made it and almost hit trees? Oh, yeah. Well, I think that... Let me actually watch this, because this might have been my buddy.
Muchas gracias. Adiós.
Adiós.
And I think they took off when they shouldn't have. Let's see here. Yeah, this is a buddy of mine, actually. And I don't know exactly. Yeah. Chris, yeah, I know Chris, dude. I didn't want to, yeah.
Saw this footage for the first time, and it scared the hell out of me. It's actually like 4 years old, and it made the rounds, going viral in the aviation community back then. And I wondered, how could I have missed this? And then I realized it was because I had one of these around that time, so I was a little bit distracted from flying. But after things settled down in my life, I got back into it.
This runway looks really short, by the way.
Think about my personal minimums.
Look how high you are.
Weather minimums is kind of an obvious one, but it's really important to think about margins with performance calculations as well.
Crazy Condor, what is up?
Alrighty.
So Chris Palmer from Angle of Attack was kind enough to share this footage with me so I could revive it and put a Flight Chop spin on it. The basic spin is, it's a high performance airplane, a turbo Bonanza, I believe. He's taken off from a very short runway.
Yeah, that looks really short, like maybe 3,000 or 2,700 feet.
Let's do it.
Chris does an amazing job analyzing exactly what happens here, so I'm not going to get into those kind of details, but I'm going to provide links that you have to check out. For now, what I want to simply do is watch and react to it.
Airspeed is alive. Back.
Look how slow he is to pick up speed, by the way.
So clearly Chris knows he's facing a bit of a challenge as he starts this takeoff roll. But he knows his airplane, and he did his math, and he knows the numbers say it can be done, but the question is, will it be done?
That's
so after
the
rotation here, he's committed.
that's the
and you
stall
can see
horn.
Things aren't going as planned.
That's just a little scary. Well. Oh boy. Wow. Okay, things we are not doing again.
So that couldn't have been any closer.
Whoa.
Let's just back it up and check this out. Look at those treetops. I mean, the
Oh
wind
my.
chips are definitely below those. So he just squeaked it through that gap. He managed to instinctually turn just slightly left there to find that one gap that he had, and he made it through. And he fought the urge to pull back, which I think a lot of people would have done, and then he would have mushed into those trees for sure. So kudos for flying right on the edge, man. He got it out, but just barely.
Okay, Chris.
So in Chris's article where he breaks it down, you'll see a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking going on in the conversation.
Of course.
I don't know, we've learned our lesson. I actually thought we were kind of screwed there for a second. So did I.
So I think there's a saying that goes something like, experience is a difficult teacher because she gives the test first and the lesson afterward. And all lessons in aviation are not survivable. So the moral of the story here is just because the performance calculations say you can do it, doesn't mean you will be able to do it. I mean, you need to fly the airplane perfectly. You need ideal conditions exactly matching whatever the conditions were supposed to be in the charts. So the reality of it is most airplanes are 10 plus years old that we're flying these days. And, you know, unless you're a multi-thousand hour pilot, you're not going to be flying perfectly. So the odds of you getting it done exactly as the book says are extremely low. And Chris is a very experienced pilot, and again, he does an amazing job breaking down everything that went on here, so I'm not going to get into the details. But at the end of the day, at a margin. So
Yeah, at a margin, dude.
I think I've kind of always ballparked 50%, but I'm going to officially say at this point, I'm going to add a 50% buffer to the performance numbers for my personal minimums for any takeoff calculations that I do going forward. So I'm just a private pilot doing my best to stay current and learn. I make these videos for self.
So yeah, here's another really great video of these guys.
On August 4th, 2012, this
They
video
survived, but it did not end as well as with Chris. And again, with Chris's video that we just saw, we're looking at a performance issue. We're looking at an issue where a plane under normal circumstances down at sea level is a powerful engine, powerful airplane, and has no problem, even turbocharged, has no problem producing power. But the problem is if the air is not there for the lift to be had, right? If the air is so thin that there's no lift there, you're still not going anywhere, and your wings are very easily reaching critical. Your angle of attack is easily reaching critical. And at the end of the day, you can produce all the power that you want, but if the air isn't there, if the air is so thin that there's nothing for the prop to push off of, you're not producing the thrust that you need. So, it's a different story when, yeah, sure, you're a turbocharged airplane and you're sucking in all that air and producing all that power, but where's the thrust? It's just not there, Well, we're not gonna really do a performance per se like ground tonight. We're full-blown performance, but what we saw in that previous video was that the effect of thin air on the performance of the aircraft. We're going to look at the numbers tonight, but here's another video of these guys that did not get so lucky as Chris did.
But some had been collected by the NTSB. The aircraft is a Stinson Model 108-3, generally a 165 horsepower single-engine high-wing propeller-driven.
They have tons of time below. Exactly.
Full fuel and light baggage. An aircraft's performance is dependent, among other things, on the density of the air it moves through. And the aircraft appears to be operating from Bruce Meadows Airstrip, a 5,000-foot-long.
He's already gone 5,000 or 6,000 feet, and he has not left the ground yet, by the way.
Surrounded by 8,000 and 9,000-foot mountain peaks near the town of Stanley, Idaho. And that may be important.
Look at the angle of attack is already so high, he hasn't even left the ground. He actually gets off the ground and then settles back to the ground.
After having previously become airborne, only after prolonged ground run. The aircraft seems unwilling to climb. We'll not speculate as to the cause of the crash, but it may nonetheless provide a good example of what pilots call a high-density altitude takeoff. Cold, low-altitude air is more dense. It's thicker than air found at higher altitudes and/or higher temperatures. Moisture in the air, humidity, displaces air molecules and also acts to thin the air. For the pilot of a propeller-driven aircraft, thick air has its benefits. It gives the surfaces of the aircraft, the wings and propeller, more to push against, as it were. It gives a naturally aspirated, non-turbocharged engine more air molecules to mix with fuel, and that results in higher power output. Relevant to what you're seeing here, the NTSB has collected air data, including barometric pressure, temperature, and moisture for the accident's location on the day of the crash. The figures show that while the aircraft was physically located at an elevation of 6,370 feet, the air around it was as thin as that found at 9,167 feet on a standard day. In other words, compared with a cooler day at a lower altitude, the engine of this aircraft had less air to mix with fuel. It put out less power, while the propeller moved less air and produced less thrust. Meanwhile, the wings produced less lift for any given speed over the
Do we
ground.
know why the propeller looks like that while on camera?
That
Is
means
the frame rate of the
aircraft
camera
needed
not
more
being
land
high
to
enough?
get to
Yeah,
speed
exactly.
and more speed to create lift, all the while working with less available power. It means it was harder for the aircraft to start to fly. Assuming that the pilot
Look at this
is
shit,
attempting
dude.
to
He's
climb,
totally
this particular
descending.
Aircraft appears strained at best and unwilling at worst. Whatever the cause, this was the result. All four men involved in this accident walked away. Early reports state that the pilot suffered the worst injury, including a broken jaw. Shown in slow motion, you can get a sense of how the airframe absorbed energy. Each impact with a tree lessens the amount of energy left for the final impact with the ground. The occupants were lucky. Once over the trees, there was very little the pilot could do. If faced with low airspeed and rising terrain, a turn was out of the question. At that point, riding it in might have been their best and only option.
So, yeah, gnarly, dude.
I'm glad
Performance
you-
is real deal, and adding that margin is absolutely crucial for, for a good outcome. Below said, I learned to fly in Phoenix, so really, really warm there and adversely affecting performance for sure. So I know poor density altitude. I've gotten 200 feet per minute in the Warrior before. Goodness gracious. Like right after takeoff, you're saying? Yeah, that's the thing is like, the factors that are adversely affecting this performance, as we'll see in these performance charts, is as temperature increases, the density of the air around the airplane decreases. That after the air has heated up, it's all, as the air heats up, it spreads out and it increases in volume, as everything is kind of bouncing around more and everything's more energetic. It makes that air really thin. So as the air gets warmer, the air gets thinner, and as the air gets thinner, we start seeing some serious problems. Now, a couple of things going through the performance charts of this 172. So we see here, with first chart that we come across is airspeed calibration, and this is really useful for converting indicated airspeed. Like when we are given on the time, distance, and fuel calculation, or time, distance, and fuel chart, the time, distance, and fuel chart, or data table, those airspeeds are given to us in indicated airspeeds. So anytime that we've got an but yet on a navigation chart, on a navigation log, our airspeed column where we're working out time, distance, and fuel problems, it's asking it's asking us for a true airspeed. And so, and the reason why that's important is because if we're going to make a ground speed, if we want to make a ground speed calculation based on known winds, that ground speed needs to be derived from a true airspeed. And the issue here is, if you're flying an indicated airspeed, you're not necessarily flying a true, the true airspeed is not necessarily what your indicator is telling you that you're doing, just due to the limitations of the instrumentation and how the instruments are actually work. You know, the airspeed indicator is an air molecule counter, essentially. And so what ends up happening is down at sea level, yeah, your indicated airspeed essentially is your true airspeed. But as you go up in altitude, or as that air gets thinner and thinner, the difference in between indicated and true airspeed increases. As the air gets thinner, the difference between indicated and true airspeed increases. And so what that means for you is, like, you could be doing 80 knots indicated, or, you know, you could be on final approach to your runway at 65 knots indicated. But if the outside air temperature, if the density altitude is, you know, 9,000 feet, you're not doing 65 knots true. You're doing closer to 90 knots, or, you know, 70, you know, you're doing probably 80 something knots, you know, 85 knots probably, or something like that, you know. It's like a big difference. It's a big deal. And when you come into land, that you're going to be taking up the room, and you're going to be eating up that runway doing 85 knots, even though it's 65 knots indicated. And you need to know that. You need to know that. So the cool thing about this airspeed calibration chart is you can go from those indicated airspeed values that are given in the data, and you can convert that indicated airspeed to calibrated. And then on an E6B, whether it's an electronic one or a let me get rid of this here, or a mechanical one, you can convert that to oh, you son of a bitch, dude. I hate it so much, dude. I hate it so much. Hold on. God. I hate that it doesn't work sometimes, man. Although, you know, hate is such a weird word, because here I am with an iPad, and it's like I can totally do this. Like, life's beautiful, dude. What the hell am I talking about? Let me just restart my my tablet here. So, like, I really want to pull up my my E6B for you guys to show you that conversion from indicated to true. And okay, here we go. Excellent. Okay. Sweet. And then we're just going to open that up. Cool. Actually, hold on. Okay, sweet, good. Okay, awesome. Wait, where did the marking tool go? Edit, maybe? Oh, you bastard. Hold on. Wait. Sorry. Dude, where's the freaking thing that I was just using maybe markup. Oh yeah, baby. That's what it was. All right, cool. I have no idea what I'm using, but it's a-okay. All right, sweet. Going back to airspeed calibration. Okay, so we got that. And I'm going to try and get this open again. And this is being a real son of a bitch. Hold on. Are you kidding me, dude? All right. Fucking god damn it, dude. Well, I have the electronic D6B right here. So I guess we'll just use that. I'm not that familiar with this though. So plan true airspeed. Let's see here. Calibrated. We can go to, yeah. So let's say our pressure altitude is, we're taking off from an airport that's, let's just say 60-foot pressure altitude. And temperature outside is 21. So going from calibrated, if we go here from this chart, let's say that we're leaving, let's say that we're taking off at 75 knots, right? At a 75 knot indicated. And we see here that with in a flaps up configuration, 75 has the midway point between 68 and 76. Let's just call that like 72. Or excuse me, yeah, like 73 maybe or something like that. 70, yeah, like 72. So you would come here. If you're showing indicated 75 and your calibrated is really 72, let me just make sure that makes sense, right? Yeah, something like that. Okay. Then what you're gonna do here is go to your calibrated speed of 72 that you just derived from your POH, and based on non-standard temperature outside, you know, you're down there at sea level. It's basically let's say it's 29. Say it's 29 Celsius. Right, based on that, you've got a true airspeed of 74. So you can go from indicated to calibrated utilizing the performance chart and the POH, and then using your E6B, you can go from calibrated to true based on non-standard temperature conditions that are around you. You could also get that density altitude. That's really cool. So let's say it's like really hot. You know, 40. You know, let's say that it's let's get real crazy. Let's say it's 30 Celsius outside, but you're up there at 5,000 feet. Have density altitude so you can ask for the controllers for a verification before you depart. Exactly. Very nice. Look at what's going on here. We're at 5,000 feet on the ground, and with a temperature outside of 30, it's almost 8,000 foot density altitude. What that means is, even though you're at a field elevation, let's say of 5,000 feet, the air around you is as thin as it would be at almost 8,000 feet on a standard day. And so the airplane is going to perform as if it were at 8,000 feet on a standard day. And you have basically 10 knots difference between your calibrated airspeed of 72 knots and true airspeed of 81, right? 65 coming in on a hot day at 6,700 feet. 10 knots difference. So below minimums is at 200 feet MSL, and I've seen 3,000 foot density altitude on the weather display in the middle of the summer. Insane. Insane, dude. Insane. I wonder how hot it would need to be for that. So if you're at 200 feet, yeah, that had to have been 38. No, maybe 30. Yeah, maybe 32 or 30. Basically like 100 degrees outside. 110 degrees. So, anyway, yeah. So that just gives you an idea of like how to actually utilize this chart right here. Let me just try one more time. This is just gonna like piss me off, dude. I don't understand why that doesn't work sometimes. It's like whenever if it doesn't want to, it won't. Let me see if I can like reinstall it here. E6B. It's a great app, dude. That's what sucks. Alright. Oh, fuck you, dude. God damn you. Fuck you, dude. Alright. Get out of here. So, yes. Now, the other thing I wanted to show to help you understand is the different, like, what is indicated. It hasn't. It's hasn't. Yeah, been updated in a while. Maybe that's actually might be the case. The difference between indicated and calibrated airspeeds. What's happening is indicated airspeed is the airspeed that is being displayed and shown on the airspeed indicator. Calibrated airspeed is the indicated airspeed that has been corrected for the position errors associated with the pitot tube and the static source. That the airspeed indicator is an instrument that compares the difference in pressure between the pitot tube and the air entering, the total pressure of the air between static pressure plus all the extra stuff that's coming through the pitot tube and the static air coming from the static source. So it compares the difference in pressure between those two sources, and the resulting differential pressure is represented as an airspeed. Now, the issue becomes like at slower speeds, when the angle of attack is high, the air is not entering the pitot tube totally perfectly, in the way that it was designed to be, to come in. You have this pitot tube that's sort of at a right angle. And so if you've got a high angle of attack and you're moving forward and the wing is up like this, the air is not coming in as readily. So you can see here the difference between indicated and calibrated is very large. Down here at the bottom, and at high angles of attack, where, like, let's say flaps 30, indicated 40, you've got almost 10 knots of difference between indicated and calibrated down there, 40 to 49. Whereas, as you go faster and you're more at the top of the wide arc at 85 indicated, yeah, it's a less of a difference. You see, same thing here, with flaps 10, and so it's an interesting kind of relationship there. Temperature conversion chart, that's pretty helpful just in terms of Fahrenheit to Celsius. Stall speeds. This is kind of interesting. Forward and aft CG. So what ends up happening is with an aft CG, let's see here. Flap setting of 30. Oh, I'm sorry. No, flap setting of 10 and 30. So, in general, just looking at the flaps up table here, we see an important trend that as bank, and this is bank angle, assuming that we are staying in level flight. This is not, this is not climbing or descending. Conditions are power off, but also in level flight. So we are very much loading the airplane. Also, you can see here, this is at 2550 pounds. This is at max gross weight. We see here an important relationship between airspeed and bank angle, that as the bank increases, the stall speed increases. So that's pretty important for us to understand. Wow, that's pretty crazy though, that power off flaps up at 45 degrees of bank, your indicated airspeed, you're stalling at 57 knots indicated. That is very, very cool. That is that's like a pretty generous, considering that you're power off in a 45 degree bank level. I mean, 57 knots, 60 knots, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. So, that the more aft your CG is, the lower your stall speed anyways. This is like the most rearward CG location, so this is the lowest that your stall speed is going to be. But still, like, that's pretty impressive. Now the thing is as you move that CG forward, your angle of attack to compensate for that forward CG needs to be higher. And so you are closer to that critical angle as it is. And the thing is with higher angles of attack like that, your wings are more loaded. Your wings are more loaded. So let's see here. Yeah, we see the same trend. So that's pretty cool. Altitude loss during a stall recovery may be as much as 230 feet. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, the relationship between So the wind components. This is the main one for tonight that we're going to be looking at, is the crosswind components when we do our crosswind landings. How to use this chart. So first of all, the way that we use any chart, any performance chart, we want to make sure that the name is the correct chart, that we're using the correct one. Right? We're over here in section 5, the POH, the 172, the wind components chart. Then we want to make sure to note the notes. You know what I mean? We got to make sure to see that we understand what the constraints were when this data was taken. Maximum demonstrated crosswind velocity is 15 knots. Not a limitation. What they're saying is that is not necessarily a limitation that they're saying, but that is the maximum that they tested the airplane to. And that is the maximum that they, from their testing, that they found that you could be in a 15 knot crosswind, a direct crosswind, that the wind could be, that the wind, regardless of the speed, could have a 15 knot crosswind component, and you could remain, in control directionally, and you could retain directional control of this airplane. How do we use this chart here? Well, first of all, the two things that this wind correction or this wind component chart relates is the headwind or the headwind or the tailwind component and the crosswind component. So that's important to know. So headwind and tailwind, basically it relates the wind coming, in a line with the fuselage, and wind coming from the side. And what this chart allows you to do is, based on knowing the angle, the difference between where the wind is coming from and where you're, like, let's say where you're taking off or where you're landing, knowing that angle difference, and knowing how fast the wind is, or how strong the wind speed is, you can determine what the crosswind component is and make sure that you are within, god damn it, you can determine if your crosswind component is within that 15 knot demonstrated limit. You know, it's not a limitation, but you know, for lack of a better word, the max demonstrated crosswind component. So what does this mean? Let's look to SkyVector and look to some examples. Perfect. Okay, so looking at SkyVector, let's look at Long Beach, okay? Nakira, what's up? Okay, so Long Beach, let's imagine if we're taking off runway 26 left right here. 26 left. It's basically 260. It's yeah. Yeah, 260. That's what we mean by, you know, 26. So like 30, that's like it's on a 300 heading, right? Or it's a magnetic, it's aligned with magnetic with magnetic courses, right? This is 260 magnetic, this is, you know, 260 magnetic, this is 8080 magnetic. So 260, okay? One of the controllers here came from Long Beach. He said it's hella busy. Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. Long Beach is crazy busy. I actually did my instrument out of Long Beach, and it's a great place to train. It's Class Delta airspace, believe it or not. It's arguably Class Charlie traffic volume, but they've still somehow been able to remain Class Delta. Interesting. So yeah, runway 26 left. If you flew prior to 2020, you probably talked to him. Oh, wow. How cool, dude. How cool. So we're working with 26 left. Now, looking at the wind out of Long Beach, we see that the wind is coming from 290. Let me actually get my ForeFlight up. All right. We got wind, so we're runway 26. I'm going to get actually both of these on right now. There's Long Beach right there. I like how the Long Beach Delta eats half of the Los Alamitos Delta. Yeah, it's just totally like overtaking it. There we go. All right, so we've got runway 26. This is north. North is up there. We've got runway 26. $260, more or less. All right, and this wind is coming from 290 at 4. So the wind is coming at 4. What we're saying is that angle is the difference between 260, 26, and 29. That angle is 30 degrees. Okay? And so when we're trying to, remember we've got wind 290 at 4. Let's just say that it was 290 at some other more interesting number. Let's say 290 at like 15 or something. Let's just say yeah, 15. hypothetically, right? Little star right there. 290 at 15. So then we're going to come to our chart here. And we're going to say that the angle is 30 degrees. So we want this 30 degrees right there. And it's going to be somewhere on this line. All right, there's that 30-degree line. Now, the wind speed in our hypothetical example is 15. So these arcs right here, these arcs, there's that arc right there, that arc right here. Those arcs represent the speed of the wind. They represent the speed of the wind. So there's a 10 knot arc, there's a 5 knot arc right there. There's a 15 knot arc right there, 20 knots, okay? So we're going to find where that 30-degree line and the 15 knot mark the 15 knot arc intersect, and they intersect right there. And if that's the case, what that allows us to do is drop down and determine what our crosswind component actually is. We're going to take that dot, and we're going to go all the way down right there. This is our crosswind component. That value right there. It's like 7, right? It's like 7 or something like that. So 7 knots. There's a 7 knot difference. Or I should say there's a 7 knot cross. Thank you so much for the follow. Thank you so much. Hard to see with the tag chart. I think it was Taco. I'm a fan. I had some Mexican, some delicious Mexican from the taqueria down the street from the airport. Yummy. It had some like ridiculously good habanero like sauce in it, or hot sauce in it. Yo. I got kind of scared earlier, dude. They were like, I was like, can you put the hot sauce in that burrito, like, you know, instead of on the side? Because as an amputee, like, I have like one arm, you know, so it's like kind of a pain in the ass to like have the burrito and like how to, you know, putting the hot sauce, drizzling it on and stuff. Like, so I asked him to just put it in there. He's like, you want like the avocado or like, you know, the medium, or like you want the habanero? And I was like, oh, just the medium. Oh, actually, you know what? Habanero, dude, let's do it. And I really stepped up to the plate, and you know what? I'm glad that I did. I miss proper Mexican food, but can't find any good Mexican here in the South. Brother, you gotta come visit, dude. You gotta come. You gotta get back over here, man, and indulge. So anyway, that is how we use this chart. That's how we use this chart. Now, what if we are actually using what the winds were? Like, remember when we saw the actual wind was, I'm going back to, for Thanksgiving. Taco, there's plenty here in South Texas. Oh, I bet, bro. I bet. That's like some bomb Mexican food down there as well, dude. We got some really good stuff here in California, though. I'll tell you. I bet all along the border, though. So 4 knots would be like right here. Right? We drop that down. And we have a crosswind component of like, you know, 3 knots or something like that, you know. Not even, basically 2. Okay. This is a very important oh shit. Wait, what? It's an important chart to be familiar with because oh, you're in Alabama. My mom's moving to Alabama, actually. That's cool, man. This is a very important chart to be acquainted with because, well, number one, you need to know what the crosswind component is. If your max crosswind component for the POH says 15, you, oh, well, hey. Yeah, I kind of tried. You know, the thing is like my uncle lives there, and I think she misses him. So I'm just like, really? I don't know. Yeah, I hear you. But as a student pilot, you're gonna have limitations on your solo endorsement that include a crosswind component. Probably not to exceed 5 knots component. right? And so if you're going to have on your solo endorsement a crosswind component not to exceed 5 knots, the question is, you know, and you go and you look and you see, okay, that on this day, you know, on runway 26 with wind coming out of the out of 290, how fast can it be for you to have to be within your solo endorsement limitation of 5 knot crosswind component? Well, apparently with it coming out of 290, you start with your 5 knot crosswind limitation right down there on your solo endorsement, and you go up to that 30-degree line, and apparently the wind cannot exceed 10 knots if it's coming out of 290, you know? So that's another way to utilize this chart, would be going basically the other direction, knowing that the wind is coming out of the northwest or whatever, and determining, okay, how fast can it be before I'm at my limitation? You need to make sure that it's well below 10, because if your limitation is 5 knots crosswind and you got wind coming you know, out of 290, the wind could shift, and it doesn't need to shift very much, right? As soon as it is anything more than 30 degrees, you're beyond your 5 knot limitation, right? So you just need to be aware of that, and really utilize this chart. It's interesting that looking at that 15 knot crosswind max demonstrated, that's right here. Ooh. It's good to know, like, dude, you know, you'll be going out on a day like with your instructor, let's say, and you're like, you know, it's really windy outside, and you're like, man, it just does not feel right to go out there, you know. I need to, you know, one of the things that should be going through your mind is like, what is the crosswind component of the day? Because you know, you want to make sure that you don't fall anywhere based on that angle, that you don't fall anywhere on that line right there. You don't want to be anywhere on that line right there. If it's 30, if it's a 30-degree difference between your runway and your departure, you know, your runway, or excuse me, between your runway and the where the wind's coming from, maximum speed that the wind can be is 30 knots. If it's 40 degrees away, max it can be is all of a sudden 24 knots. If it's a 50-degree difference, max it can be is 20 knots. You can see here that basically as the angle becomes more and more sharp, more and more toward the 90 degrees, you're really starting to run out of room here. Like with that, the wind does not need to be as powerful for it to really start to encroach on that 15 knot crosswind component, right? The more of a headwind that you have, yeah, it's like it can be 30 knots. If it's a 30-degree difference, 30 knots is fine, because most of that's going to be headwind. But as that wind shifts, then you've got some issues. You got some issues, and then of course when it's 90 degrees, it is 15 knots right there. So that's good to know. 1 second, let me just clear all this. All right, and I'll be right back, you guys. I think my girlfriend is here, so 1 second. Zombie poster. They're so like jittery and like tweaker, dude. Well, the other one.
Oh yeah.
You know, they get so excited. Oh man, guys. Okay, cool. So, I'm utilizing, or I'm talking about this a lot because it's often not that talked about, and it's the focus of tonight's sim is Crosswind. So, okay. Moving forward with let's see here. I'm gonna leave that and get rid of that. Moving forward with short field takeoff performance charts. So again, we want to make a habit anytime we open up a chart and we consider a performance chart, we want to make a habit of making sure that we're reading the correct one, that we understand like what it's actually telling us, like the title, right? We're talking about reading the correct title. So we're over here. They only talk about short field takeoff distances, and so we're talking about short field takeoff technique. And what that means, apparently, according to the conditions here, you want to read the conditions next, right? Is flaps 10, full throttle prior to brake release, and on a dry paved level runway, 0 wind, and assuming your liftoff at 51 and your speed at 50 feet is 56 knots. So those are some of the constraints there. And this is one of the things that Below Minimums was relishing, is like, you know, really there's really no futzing like about like with like what the numbers actually are. And I mean, really like the data is there compared to like a Piper chart where, you know, you would navigate the curves to derive the data there. Zach, what's up, dude? What is typically your safety factor you add on the POH numbers? I also do 50%. Yeah, that was discussed earlier. Now that's what I teach. From a when you go through your commercial, it can be a bit of a different story where like they want to make sure that you can do that how do I say this? Like, no one is asking you to like, you know, do anything unsafe, but they do want to make sure that like a commercial applicant is not going into a check ride, not gonna go take off because, you know, there's they don't have double the performance or something like that, or, you know, basically like the examiner wants to make sure that you're not ultra conservative, you know, that you're not ultra conservative, and that at this stage for the commercial certificate, for the commercial applicant, that you are comfortable enough with your technique, with your POH, like with your aircraft, with your understanding of performance, that, you know, you might, you know, go 25% or 30% or something like that. So I'm just saying, like, it doesn't have to be 50, but I mean, it's got to be something. And when you first learn it, when you're first teaching like a brand new pilot, and if you are a private pilot, 50% is great, you know. So just kind of with a grain of salt there is all I'm saying. Hi, Captain. Can you provide an example of adding 50% to POH numbers? Absolutely. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's take this takeoff here. By the way, we're at 2550, so that's maximum. That's max gross weight, right? So I believe they have other weights as well. Yeah, 24. They do one at 2,400 pounds. They do one at 22. I believe at 19. No, they don't do 19. So they do one at 22. Very, very common. Like if it's a single pilot, full fuel or whatever. Or that's actually 2 people, I believe, depending or whatever, you know. But like just relatively light. 2,400 pounds and then max gross. But looking at max gross, those are the numbers that are going to be like the worst. So let's look at what it means to add 50%. So let's say that on this day at a Long Beach, it's 30 degrees Celsius outside. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to sea level, these sea level numbers right here. All right, and we're gonna go all the way over to the 30 Celsius, column here. And the ground roll is a number that it's the amount of distance that in a perfect world, again, remember, it's in a perfect world, you will need this distance at sea level, pressure altitude, you will need that distance to leave the ground. And you're going to need, in a perfect world, at 30 Celsius, sea level pressure altitude, you're going to need that distance to clear 50-foot obstacles. What we mean by that is, you're going to, if you have an obstacle that's 50 feet high at the departure end of the runway, you're going to need a minimum of 1,800 feet to 1,810 feet to clear that obstacle. Okay. So, what does it mean to add 50%? So, and again, the reason why we add 50% is because these numbers are perfect and we are not perfect. So we're going to take 1,070. 1,070 is what's needed. All right. So what we're going to say is 1,070 feet times 50% is 0.5. And then plus 1,070. That's really what we're talking about. We're talking about saying this number right here is we're just going to take 50% of 1,070 and we're going to say 0.5. That's 535. And what that is saying is that we're going to add 535 feet based on 50% of 1,070 being 535. That's what we're going to add to yeah, but Kino, that's not a helpful way to teach that. Would you be adding 50% of 1810 on top of 1810 to give yourself more margin for clearance just to be safe? So yeah, so you're just going to be just utilizing the ground roll right now, one thing at a time. We're utilizing the ground roll, and I'm just saying that 50% of 1,070 is 537. And I'm sectioning that off specifically because it's important to conceptualize, like, what is it that we're actually adding? We're saying that 50% of 1,070 is 535. And we're adding 535 to the original number. Right? So that's about 1,600 feet. Equals about 1,600 feet. That's what we mean by adding 50%. All right. Very nice. And so what we're saying is if we add 50% to that ground roll, and what we really need is 1,600 feet. Then what you can also, you can go a step further and you can say, okay, how much runway do I have? How much runway do I have? So let's go to the Navigraph. And There we go. According to this, you've got 3,900 feet. You have 3,918, right? You have 3,918 feet to work with. Runway is 3,918. And performance is 16. I'm gonna say performance plus margin. Right, and so then you would be able to, with your the runway available to you and your performance plus your margin, you're able to say, okay, is the difference between those two numbers within a personal minimum of mine, you know? 1,600 is about 40% of 3,918. It's just under half, you know? And maybe you know, and so what people want to do is be able to leave the ground within the first third of the runway, because what that allows you to do is it gives you some wiggle room in terms of an engine failure immediately after takeoff. It allows you to kind of, you know, to leave the ground and set it back down on the runway with like some hopefully minimal damage, you know. That might be a day where if you're a brand new pilot, if you're like a brand new certificated pilot, or this is a new airplane, this is maybe the first time that, remember, this is at max gross. Maybe if this is the first time you're flying max gross, maybe you actually don't go. Maybe you consider not going, and it's like, you know, hey, let's wait for like the weather to like kind of cool off, especially if you got some wind in there, you know. But the thing is if you've got, what are these conditions here? Oops. Because wind definitely plays, or can you use Google Maps to measure the runway distance to visually see where you should lift off? I wouldn't. I would use whatever the FAA gives you. And, damn it. I would use whatever the FAA gives you. But that is a very cool tool. But here's the thing, dude. Is you can decrease distance for every 10%. Decrease distance 10% for each 9 knots of headwind. That's interesting. Right? So what does that mean? If we go back to our chart there, if we go back to this crosswind chart and we say, okay, we're departing runway 26 left, and the wind is coming from 290 at 30 knots, or I'm sorry, at 290 at 20 knots. 290, but the difference between 290 and 260 is 30 degrees, right? We're back on that line. And if the wind is blowing at 20 knots, that's or excuse me. Yeah, let's say that it's blowing at, what would it need to be? 12 knots. Let's say that it's blowing at 12 knots, that red dot right there. 12 knots, you can see here, when it's 30 degrees, 12 knots is actually has a 10 knot headwind component. So if we are instructed to decrease distances by 10%, or excuse me, for every 9 knots, I should say. It's every 9 knots of headwind. Sorry about that. So yeah, let's just say that it was blowing at 10 knots. There's 10 knots right there. 9 knots of headwind component. By the way, that's 5 knots of crosswind component. It's mostly headwind component. and we're told here that for every 9 knots of headwind, we can decrease distances by 10%. Then there you go. This is what we're going to do. 1070 is where we're at. So we don't need this, actually. $10.70. Hold on. $10.70. Feet. 10% is 10% is boom 1 decimal right there. It's 107. So we're gonna add yeah, times 10% is 107. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say 1070. Oops. Minus 107, 963. So what was 1070 is now 963. We have that 10 knots of headwind. In a perfect world, 963 times 0.5 of safety margin is 481. $481 plus 963 is just I'm gonna round up to 1,500 feet. We come here and we say, okay, 1,500 feet. Right? 39.18. Yeah, we're down at 37%. The takeoff roll is 37% of what's available to us. So that is an example of utilizing the chart here under non-standard temperature conditions to determine what your, in a perfect world, no wind, right? 0 wind, it says right there in the conditions, what your takeoff performance should be. Looking at the actual weather and realizing, no, you have some wind going on, right? And so you use that wind component chart to determine the headwind component and to what extent, for every 10%, we're decreasing 9 knots of headwind. We're decreasing this number by 10% for every 9 knots of headwind. Or for operation with tailwinds up to 10 knots, increase distances by 10% for each 2 knots of tailwind, by the way. We can kind of see, because the reason why is we're gonna with more headwind component, with more headwind, we have additional relative wind. We have relative wind that's coming at us from the actual wind, not just from our forward speed. And that increase in relative wind speed is definitely going to help us produce lift. Okay, so with that help in producing more lift, we're going to lift off the ground more quickly, and that's how we use that chart. Do you divide the total performance number with the runway length to get a percent? Yes. Yeah. Basically, all I'm saying is yeah, when I divide the total, the performance over the total, you know, like what percentage of that, you know, what and then times 100, what percentage is that, you know? Is it half? Is it a third? Like, you know, what is it, you know? So looking at let's actually get this off. Cool. Sweet. Rate of climb. So this is at max gross. This is a chart that those guys on those videos really should have taken a little bit more to heart, probably. I'm not saying that they, you know, assumed that the airplane could do certain things, but I'm sure they did. But, you know, when they looked at their charts, well, guarantee you this guy in the second video did not look at his charts, but I know Chris, and he definitely is a careful pilot and a really awesome pilot. I know that he looked at those charts. Thing is, though, dude, is it appears that little or no margin was added, and you know, I think what's cool about that is that, you know, he came out of that learning experience sharing his knowledge with everybody else, and I think that that's super awesome. But it's something like this that you would want to add, you know, a performance margin as well to it. Rate of climb being adversely affected by temperatures. So you can see here, even at sea level, what is in really cold temperatures, when the air is really nice and dense and you have a lot of air to work with, 855 feet per minute, whereas the hotter it gets, you know, you get worse and worse. Time, distance, and fuel to climb. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to save the rest of these charts. You got this, cruise performance. I'm going to save these charts for a performance night, because we're really not going to be utilizing these tonight. I want to stick to the crosswind component stuff and work on some crosswind landings. And on performance night, we do actually like go crazy into the rest of these charts. You can see here there's like a bunch of them. Cruise performance. So we'll get to these another night. But I definitely encourage you to take a look at them and utilize them in much the same way that, you know, that we've been talking about all night long, which is, you know, read the title, read the conditions, make sure you understand the conditions, read any notes that a chart might have, like these notes down here when you're talking about time and distance to climb after takeoff, right? The notes say to add some fuel for engine start, taxi, and takeoff allowance. Increasing time, distance, and fuel by 10% for each 10 degrees above standard. You know, you want to read the notes and then, you know, apply a safety margin. All right. So let's get in the plane and let's go do some like crazy crosswind landings, dude. And then eat some applesauce. All right. Dude, I might need to get a new yoke, man. My yoke.
I thought you guys were looking at those.
My yoke is being weird.
Treat for babe. Treat for babe.
Yee. I think it's time to like actually upgrade my yoke. Like I've had this is ever since I started simming. It's actually kind of warm in here, man. Protect your identity.
Oh my gosh.
Hey!
I'm looking on you. What's your name? Oh, I'm gonna show you.
What are you doing? Babe. How do you adjust? Babe. Babe. Alright. Had it had it act up in any other sims? I haven't tried it actually. I haven't tried it in DC other than DCS, so we'll have to see, man. We'll have to see right now. I doubt that it's going to. I think it just relates to, it might relate to just the program itself. And I see here that I need an update on my computer, but maybe that has something to do with it. But, you know, I am inclined to believe that, like, the F-18 is just so sensitive, and it's like you're at such fast speeds, and if this thing is weird in a GA airplane, you're probably not even going to detect the difference, you know? But at 600 knots or, you know, 400 knots, like, yeah, you know, it's definitely going to be weird. But it was very weird yesterday. That was like, oh man, it was so erratic. You guys, can I just tell you I'm so excited for, I mean, I love Sim, but I can't wait because after Sim, I have a brand new thing of applesauce that I'm gonna freaking dive into, dude. I haven't even opened it. Fresh applesauce, dude. And no, it's not the cinnamon kind. I should have got that, but it's a-okay. I like that Mott's, dude. What do you suppose the best brand is? What should I Is Mott's good? Is Mott's like, or is that like a cheapie?
I feel like that's the go-to.
Isn't that the go-to?
Yeah.
They're the ones that invented apples?
I mean...
They invented apples? Babe? Is that what happened?
Yes, they did.
Yay. Good job, Mott's. Now, Crosswind Landings and Realism Flight Dynamics, they have the premium fruit snacks as well, dude. Zach, you are speaking my language, bro. What's up, dude? Do you find that, babe? For, like, the kids? For Mott's having the primo fruit snacks? Zach is recommending. Ooh.
We dig the Stater Brothers ones right now.
Stater Brothers? Is that Stater Brothers brand? Or, like, just whatever brand you're getting at Stater Brothers?
No, it's actually Stater Brothers.
Stater Brothers brand.
Yep.
But see, damn, dude. We should fly like a big airplane, dude. All right. So, what airports are we going to? Whose airport are we flying out of today, dude? And what are we doing these crosswind landings at? What airport?
Are you looking for suggestions?
Yeah, I'm fishing for in the chat. Well, the thing is, we're gonna put wind in artificially, no matter where we go. So I do like, you know, your neck of the woods, Zach. It's always windy here at KNGP, but it might be a boring one. Well, the thing is yeah, we're gonna put ridiculous wind in right now, so it's a-okay. NGP, KNGP. Where's that? That is ooh. Let's see here. NGP. Oh, Corpus Christi. No, dude. Let's do it. So, airport diagram. So let's do a looks like maybe the small runway, the random, dude. 5,000 by 196. What's up with that? Just do 200, dude. Right? Look at 5,000 by 196. Dude. Could probably do that though. So runway 31 right. What's the traffic pattern at 31 right? Asphalt. Right. It's right traffic. Traffic pattern. Oh, yeah, it's right traffic for 3-1 right. Okay, cool. Sounds good, man. Let's do it. Sold. What kind of wind do you get there, Taco? And then temperature-wise... Celsius. Pressure is 3037. All right. And let's add the wind. Let's see here. So we are 3-1, right? So let's actually go to the chart. Let's utilize that chart, huh? Even though I just closed off the thing. $25 gusting 35. All right, sounds good, man. Like the storminess slider, Microsoft Flight Sim has a twitchiness slider. Yeah. All right, is it gonna join or? Okay, cool. There it goes. Very nice. Very cool. All right, cool. So we're going to keep that right there. Let's do wind. Oh, here. What did you say? You said NGP. And we're just going to go do 3-1 right there. Conform that wind right there on final. Let's do, let's look at the max crosswind component type wind here. What would that need to be? So 15 knots. Let's do, 15 knots. And if we're gonna do 3-1, let's do 30 degrees. So it's gonna be a 3-4-1. 3-4-2 is fine. 30 degrees. There it is. 30 knots. Let's just open it wide open, dude. Let's go 30 knots. No gusting and all good. Temperature, let's just leave it what it is right now. And let's go fly this thing. So what we're doing right now is we're conducting an experiment based on the POH of this aircraft. It's the same aircraft with a 15 knot crosswind, max demonstrated crosswind component, as the POH says that it is. We should be able to maintain directional control. It's probably not going to be super fun. Let's be serious though. Like, it's in the sim, of course it's going to be fun. But there's we should be able to do it, but it should be challenging to maintain directional control. Oh, here we go. This is it's kind of weird. Mixture full rich and master, left, center, right behind. All right, there we go. Temperature, pressure, vacuum, electrical. Let's go avionics. All right, and we have wind coming from... Oh, we need to set our thing to 3-1. 3-1. So we have wind coming from 30 degrees right now from the right. We can see that windsock out there. Oh, the altimeter, of course. Let's see here. One 127.9. 127.9.
Corpus Christi NAS information lead.
340 at 30.
1700 Zulu weather. Wind 340 at 30. Visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 12,500 few, 29,500 few. Temperature 11. Dew point -16. Altimeter 3010. Arriving
Awesome.
runways 31 left, 35, 31 right.
And we're just going to assume 1,000-foot traffic pattern altitude. And so looking at the sock, yeah, that thing's blowing kind of stiff. So we'll give it our best shot here. We're right traffic. So I'm gonna go toes down. Oh, let's go. Well, this isn't even touching how fast we're gonna get to today. We're gonna look at how the airplane handles when we're outside of the max demonstrated crosswind. Even though it's not a limitation, it's gonna be fucked, dude. So let's make sure the mic is good, and here we go. So we need. Look at the thing on its own. Look at what's happening. The airplane wants to weather vane hardcore into that wind from the right. Airspeed's alive. So what I'm doing is I'm holding in aileron into the wind. Look at the indicated airspeed, by the way, dude. All that relative wind coming into the pitot tube. So I'm holding in that right... oh my god, we're getting blown over hardcore, dude. I'm holding in right aileron. Look at our ground speed. Our ground speed is 50 knots. We're doing 80 indicated and 50 ground. 700 feet. Turning crosswind. We're not even at the end of the runway. Zach, by the way, it doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel bad at all. There's 1,100 feet. Look at our performance is like crazy right now, dude. Our climb performance was absolutely bonkers. So, yeah, we are not doing a great job flying this pattern. Matter of fact, I'm going to pause it right here. I want to go to ForeFlight and look at our ground track with the breadcrumbs on. Oh, is it not doing breadcrumbs? Oh yeah, there it goes. Okay, so slow it down, and we're being pushed pretty crazy toward this airport. Oh my, wait a minute. Wait, 3-1. Yeah. Okay. Is the wind at 1,000 feet 2 times the surface winds like Microsoft Flight Sim? Yeah, exactly. So here we're still at TPA. Let's start descending. Let's get some, I'm only gonna go partial flap right now. 500 to 600 feet. Now, absent any wind correction, look at what's going on. We roll out on runway heading, and look at this. We're being blown totally to the side. So I'm going to get in the white arc and get some flaps in there, but I'm gonna go partial flap, dude. Like, there's no way that we
Short
can
final runway
be
31
slow.
right.
If we go slow enough, like normal, we won't have directional control. We need to keep some speed up right here. Look, we're doing 50 knots ground. So proper crosswind correction. I do still have some really good authority over this rudder. I've got left rudder in to maintain the center line, and then I'm using right aileron to maintain my ground track, and I'm just having varying amount of rudder here, trying to fly the best that I can to maintain the center line. See, as we slow down, it's really tough. I'm kind of still coming in crabbed. And I have power in there still. So see, 30 knots is not that bad. I'm gonna go flaps 1, full power, and I've got right aileron. Airspeed alive, let's do it. I'm gonna try and do a little bit better job with the crosswind correction on the takeoff. With this, I do try and keep the ball centered, actually, and just have the airplane crabbed into the wind, and that way you get the maximum like lift performance out of it. 300 feet, positive rate of climb, safe speed, flaps up. Holding that 80 knots. Here comes 700 feet. That's 300 feet below TPA. And And so we're going to turn crosswind now. I'm like trying to crab into the wind here and just give myself some distance from the runway. To perform a forward slip in high crosswind conditions, the rudder goes full deflection, opposite side of the wind. Yeah, so a forward slip, what you're trying to do is aileron into the wind always. And hold on, sorry, I'm just trying to concentrate here. Yeah, you want aileron into the wind and then opposite rudder. So whatever that means, yeah, so a rudder is opposite the wind. If you're banking into the wind and then you have opposite rudder, yeah. All right. So we're coming up to a beam. The numbers here, we're actually, I'm gonna fly a little bit of a outside track because we're getting blown toward the runway. Is there any circumstance where you can add too much aileron into the wind and the upwind wheel touches down? Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be like way too much. I mean, I suppose anything that would, like, you know, destabilize the whole, you know, the contact. You want as much as you need to, only as much as you need to maintain that ground track, a straight ground track, you know? All right, white arc, flaps 1. And I'm going to maintain like 75 or, you know, 70 minimum, like on the way down. And I just wanted to point out one more time the crosswind correction technique here. First of all, rolling out on final. Notice, based on the wind being very strong, I'm starting my base to final extremely soon. Because here we are getting pushed, right? So what I'm trying to do is roll out on final and keep final. Keep a straight ground track onto final. So you can't be waiting when you normally would turn base to final. See, here we are, like, about to roll out, and we're still getting pushed. So I started that nice and early. And you can just have the wind push you right on to final. And we want aileron into the wind. And the airplane is going to want a weather vane into the wind to the right, so we need left rudder to keep the fuselage aligned with the center line. It's looking like I need 75 or 80 indicated. See, the nose is pretty, there we go. Now the nose is aligned, but I need a lot of aileron to keep that, to keep myself on track. Shit. I have my left foot pretty much on the floor right now. And I'm keeping that right aileron in. There we go. Bring that to a stop. Now let's go crazy, man. Let's look. Now we're gonna go outside of the 15 knot max demonstrated. Let's keep the wind, but let's see what the angle needs to be for us. I mean, well, first of all, we know that any angle greater than 30 is now outside of the 15, but let's make it interesting. Let's keep 30 and let's go 50 degrees. Let's go 50 degrees. So 15, no, excuse me. So it's going to be 30 knots, but 50 degrees. Right there. So what kind of crosswind component is that? Yeesh. That's almost 10 knots above the crosswind component max demonstrated limit. It's looking like 24 knots of crosswind. 30 knots at 50 degrees. So let's go ahead and go into the weather. We are 310, so that would be 360. 360 at 30. Let's see, where's that windsock at? Just hanging on for dear life. All right, let's do it. And I'm curious what kind of speed we need to maintain some sort of directional control. Let's see about it, dude. Oh my God, these patterns are like crazy looking. All right, here we go. All right. Oh shit. All right. So we got full right aileron, and I am pretty hardcore on that left rudder, keeping the nose down the runway. We're tracking pretty straight. All right, there's 700 feet. Turn our crosswind. Whoa, we like overshot crosswind. There we go. Sorry. I was looking at my tablet. Got to reduce head down time. All right. Downwind. Pretty cool looking hangars and stuff down there. You can totally tell this is like a base. Just trying to keep the runway same place on the strut. So I'm converging on it a little bit. We have a crazy tailwind right now. We're doing like 95 or 90 indicated with 100 ground speed. Start our descent. Let's try and get into the wide arc a little bit so we can come in. You know what? I'm gonna come in. Yeah, I'm gonna come in flaps 1. It would be crazy to be over the water at on base. Jesus Christ! Look at, we're like 500 to 600 feet. I'm sure they prefer keeping the patterns nice and tight, maybe over the land. But so yeah, here we are rolling out early, keeping our, oh my God, yeah. Without speed, we're toast. So let's keep that speed toward the top of the wide arc. So I have full.
Final runway 31 right.
I have full left aileron, or I'm sorry, full left rudder, and the nose is still tending to weather vane into the wind. So we do not have full directional control over this airplane. And that's at this speed. It's only going to get worse as we get down to the ground and we get slower. So the best thing I can do is just fly whatever I can, do whatever I can to fly a straight ground track. Look at, we're showing 75 indicated and we're doing 48 ground speed. My left foot is on the floor and we're still at an angle. No! Nice. I'm gonna fly that again. But, oh my God, this thing's skidding all over the place. But I'm gonna be on final outside of the airplane. Yeah. I'm gonna be outside of the airplane on final so you guys can kind of see what I'm saying. In fact, I think you could probably fly this whole thing on the outside. External, chase. That last pattern actually looks really good on the breadcrumbs, man. There's 1,000 feet. Pull that power back. I'll go to the external view on final. Oh my goodness. We are way too close. See, the runway is aligned with very, very low on the strut, so I'm gonna diverge a little bit here. Start our descent. Yeah, that's a little bit better. All right, and then let's go into view. Actually, we're just gonna run one thing of flaps. Yeah, I think this yoke is kind of being weird, actually. See, I have like full rudder deflection on right now. And we're still weather vaning pretty hardcore into the wind. Just to give you an idea, if we can toggle the flight path, let's see here, show flight path. So that was that Control P. I wish it was easier to see. Yeah. You do want to be centerline. I mean, in an extreme situation like this, where, you know, it's like borderline. I mean, I would just divert. You know what I mean? But yeah, you want to land centerline. It's freaking smashed. Yikes. And then that's when you just like go back to the flying club and just hide yourself, because you should be embarrassed that you went out on that day when nobody else is flying and they're looking at you like super strange, like, what did you think was gonna happen? Man, okay, guys. I hate to do this to you, but I do have to cut it short tonight. Just a few rounds in the pattern with extreme crosswind landings to apply what we talked about tonight in ground with the crosswind component chart and some of the other charts and how to actually use a chart properly. You know, just a good, nice, quick and dirty ground. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. we'll be doing ground and flight, a little bit of ground, but mostly sim flights. Tomorrow is Flight Skills Thursdays. We'll be doing lazy eights and eights on pylons. I'm gonna try and do it in Microsoft Flight Sim because it's gonna look amazing, and we're gonna be doing it in my neck of the woods where I train commercial pilots to do those maneuvers. We're going to go out over the water. We're going to pick a emergency landing spot. We're going to establish our entry, and we're going to be looking at, you know, oh, well, the thing is for lazy eights, we're not going to be doing any wind. For eights on pylons, we do need to do, we actually, wind is a part of it. It's a ground, eights on pylons is a ground reference maneuver that is based on wind. So we're gonna just have light normal wind on the eights on pylons. Oh, we're gonna be doing probably a, we can do it in a low wing. In fact, I'll probably just attempt to do it in an airplane I've never flown before, in maybe the Diamond. But yeah, we could try it in even a couple different things. But yeah, the low wing is pretty nice. The low wing is pretty nice. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I'll take a vote. But yeah, eights on pylons and lazy eights. These are maneuvers that I teach particularly adept private pilots, but these are traditionally commercial maneuvers. So we'll look in the I believe it's in the air. Why am I drawing a blank? I believe it's in the airplane flying handbook. The ground reference. Or no. Yeah. We'll look in the FAA publications on their guidance on what the point of these maneuvers are and some of the key points, and we'll go fly them. It's gonna be really fun. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 p.m. and have a great rest of the night. See you guys.